Hello, my name is Emily Coney, and I am going to be discussing the project manager roles and responsibilities. The first thing that a project manager needs to be able to do is motivate their team. They ultimately are relying on their team to make the project a success, so making sure that the team is all on board is very important. So some ways to do this could be just have fun with the project, make sure that you are clear with the team expectations and goals. Definitely be available for the team with whatever they need, and just try to get the team excited to work on the project. So as with any project, there's going to be timelines and different milestones that they need to meet. So the next big thing that a project manager needs to do is keep the team on track. So, in order to do this, they need to provide the team with the resources that they need to do their job, and that will ultimately, hopefully, be a successful project. Um, they need to have a clear project plan, and to do this, you need to have a clear scope of the project, and lastly, just have the timelines meet regularly to make sure that the timelines are being met. And if they need adjusted, do so, but try to keep it on that original timeline as much as possible. So the next thing that project manager needs to do is manage the executives and their expectations. So as a project manager, they're going to not only be in charge of managing down and managing their team, but also managing up and sharing with the stakeholders how the project is going and I guess the whole project in general. So a few ways to do this is have a steering committee to kind of give updates on the project and where the project is. They have to ensure buy-in for the project from executives, and they can do that by ensuring that the expectations of the executives are going to be met with the scope of the project. And then ultimately they need to make sure that they have the proper stakeholders involved, and though everyone that needs to be included is included. So the next thing that a project manager needs to do is manage a project risk. So there are so many different risks that a project can run into, and there are going to be some that are unforeseen. But to begin, they need to keep a risk register and keep it up to date as things change and as the project progresses. There are going to be things that maybe someone thinks about, or maybe something occurs that then is going to cause a new risk. So keeping that risk register up to date is going to be very helpful. As you keep that risk register up to date, having a risk contingency plan for all of the different risks, and then adjusting it accordingly as different risks do come up will be helpful. Be proactive instead of reactive. So if we do know that there are risks, trying to put a plan in place prior to the risk happening. If it does become an issue, how are we going to address it? And then ultimately, as things do come up, just address them as quickly as possible to make sure that the project does stay on time and on schedule, and stays within the scope of the project. So the last thing that a project manager needs to focus on is managing the budget. So the budget is ultimately going to dictate the success of a project. You can't complete a budget if you don't have the resources to do so, especially the financial resources to do so. So making sure that the budget is within, or that I guess the project that is within budget is very important. So to do this, the project needs to have an outline of all the tasks, milestones, and supplies that are needed, and what kind of financial resources are needed for all of those things. So just having a list of everything prior to the project is going to be very important. Um, Creating a budget tracker or some way to make sure that what we originally thought we were going to spend on the project versus what we are spending is going to be very important. And then, brainstorm early on how we can pool resources or do things differently if something does come up and we need to adjust the budget. If there's ways that we can save money in other areas, is going to be important as well. And that is all that I have.